Puig, the president, for that. So having said that, I want to welcome everyone, all of you, to our Paycheck Protection Program webinar, and it's presented by Ocean Bank. As always, Ocean Bank present here with us. So thank you so much, Ocean Bank, for the continuous support. Ana Lu, Ana Luz
Thank you for
Moreira,
having us.
SBA manager of Ocean Bank. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Vicky Victoria Guerrero, the district director of the SBA. I mean, Vicky, I just have to just send a quick text and she said, I'm there. So, and I love that. And I appreciate that because not everybody in government and not everybody in any industries like that. So the people that you really shine, they shine like you because you're there. You answer, you're there for the community. And I really salute you for that. And Ernie Diaz, I mean, Ernie, I know his parents. Ernie,
Lily, if I can interrupt you for 1 second, I will tell you,
yeah.
the SBA, they are really interact in our locally. I mean, as far as
Yeah,
I know, for
yes.
10, 15 years, they put their money where their mouth is. They participate, as you said, to pick up calls, and and I don't know that that's the case all over the country, but at least in South Florida, the SBA is very active,
And
and thank you.
yeah, and Roland, and to your point, and Vicky, you know what? And I found because I used to do a show before I did the Business Minute with Lee Lopez, and I remember that we worked with Pancho Marrero, and I saw one of my shows where we did. I forgot about that. That was 2003, the community walk. So with Pancho Marrero and with a few others, and we walked literally neighborhoods with businesses, and just to see. And the mayor went, "What are your needs?" And when I saw that, it's in VHS. I said, "Wow, that's the history that we have with the SBA." It was called the Community Walk, and we would walk around different areas of Miami-Dade County to see what the needs were of the businesses. So that's what the South Florida Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has been doing for so many years. And so Ernie, I mean, he's with BDO. What can I say? I know his parents. He's a very qualified young man. Immediately when I know that Felipe Basulto, our past chair, when he said, I'll get Ernie on board, and so we were very happy. So thank you so much, Ernie, and thank you,
Thank
Felipe,
you.
for getting Ernie on board as well. So now I think I'm going to turn it over to Roland, because Roland is moderating this panel, my chairman of the board. I know he doesn't sleep that much anymore. He used to get more hours of sleep. The other day I received an email from him. It's at 1:40 a.m. I said, oh my God, I have Roland responding to me at 1:40 in the morning. It doesn't get any better than that, Roland. I am so honored to have you as chairman of the board. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy, one of the best lawyers in Florida and America. And here he is at 1:40 in the a.m. responding to Lily. So thank you. That is called commitment. Thank you, Roland, for all you do.
Thank you, Lily, but it's because you've trained me well. It's only because you trained me, okay? And so I think you should pat yourself on the back. Well, actually, and before we get started, if you guys could just spend, and we'll go to alphabetical order, Ernie, Victoria, and then Anna Lou, just a little bit about yourself, where you were born, 5-minute just background, so that we get a little flavor for who you are, separate and apart from what you do.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me. If Felipe is listening, thank you, Felipe, for recommending me. My name is Ernie Diaz. I work with BDO USA. Formerly used to work with Morrison Brown, Arquez and Farah. We were just acquired. I'm a tax manager at the Miami Brickell office. Specialize in high net worth individuals, estates and trust, taxation planning for immigrants coming into the U.S. for business opportunities. Those are the things that I do on a daily basis. So a fun fact is that I've ran, about 5 marathons. So yeah, I'm an avid runner, and I enjoy that highly.
Ernie, and congratulations on the merger. Man, that's interesting because BDO is obviously a massive CPA firm, but in South Florida, Morrison Brown is kind of, they're elite, and so I get it that they're a big company, but like I said, Morrison Brown in South Florida is, frankly had a incredible name. So, and one fact, one interesting question: if you could have a computer to do one chore for you, what would that chore be?
That's a good. So recently married, we got married about 3 months ago. So I would say making the bed, because I've been tasked with that, and it's a bear.
I thought you were going to say being a husband, and I thought, man, you shouldn't say that out loud. Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
I wish you many years of wedded bliss. Victoria, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. And Lily and Roland, thank you for everything that you guys do in the community, and to all of our panelists here to help our small businesses. I'm so happy to hear that, our relationship goes
Hey,
very
Victoria,
far.
if you could check your mic, it's just not, it's, can't hear you that well.
An echo, right?
Yeah,
Bit of an echo.
Can you hear me better now?
not that great.
Okay, so why don't we skip to the next person and I'll go get my headphones.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Good idea. And look, go ahead.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Anelu Moreira, and I'm originally from Caracas, Venezuela. I've been in the United States for over 15 years and lived the majority of my time in Houston, and moved to Miami around 4 years ago, and been with Ocean Bank ever since. I'm an accountant and an auditor background, and I used to be a runner as Ernie prior to PPP. Now I'm just, a PPP addict, and hopefully eventually I'll get back to running when we finish helping all the customers that need help.
And to follow up on the same question, if you had a robot to do a particular chore, what would it be?
I would say taking the kids to soccer every day, so I don't have to.
That's a good one. And listen, and by the way, I mean, we're very fortunate because the institutions represented here are some of the finest in South Florida. I mean, obviously, Ocean Bank is also an incredibly well-known commodity in South Florida. And so, its evolution has been fantastic. I'm going to wait a few minutes to get Victoria on to see if we can get her on. But the first, maybe we just get started until we get, we'll get back in there when Victoria gets logged back on. So the PPP program obviously ends at the end of this month. And I've been reading quite a bit about the program. I'm just curious, in terms of the initial rounds and what you're seeing now, what are some of the biggest differences that you're seeing? I mean, obviously you have, I mentioned, an incredible amount of experience, but what are the biggest differences you're seeing between, 2020 and 2021 PPP? Either one of you can start.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ernie.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in 2020, we had, a large number of applications. Everybody was applying. And the biggest difference now is in the second round, the SBA has put an additional requirement, is that the people that are eligible now have to be able to demonstrate a reduction of 25% in gross receipts. So that has, made a lot of the businesses not eligible. So the number of applications have decreased significantly based on what we've seen or what we saw in 2020.
Ernie, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, and I think Anelu can agree to this. Last year was so frantic, right? And nobody knew what a 941 was. They didn't know how to calculate their payroll, and it's like, you guys are running these businesses, and a lot of times the business owners are just kind of, trying to run the business. They're not worried about, what is payroll. I think now I've gotten a lot of calls from clients ultimately saying, hey, listen, I know what this is now. I have my financial literacy in, 365 days has overcome, what it was before. So they're calling you with more sophisticated questions. They're calling you, I have the application filled out. Now, Nat, can you please fill it out for me? Now, I have it filled out, can you please cross-check it so I can send it to the lender? But something that's important, and she mentioned it, is the 25% reduction in revenue. It's a kicker, right? It's, you got to really go and say, did this really happen? Because if not, the SBA is not going to go out and fund that loan ultimately.
Okay. Victoria, you want to try see if the mic works now?
How about now? Can you guys hear me better?
Oh, much better.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So,
yeah. So if you could just start about talking a little bit about yourself, please.
sure, of course. So my name is Victoria Guerrero. Everybody calls me Vicky or Victoria. I was born and raised in South Florida, lived here my whole life. So I am native in the South Miami, Kendall area. That's where I grew up, and I'm so happy to be here. I wanted to say thank you to Lily and Roland, and to everyone on the panel for doing everything that you do to help our small businesses. And Lily, it's absolutely wonderful to know how depth how deep the SBA goes with your organization for many, many, many years. I love the concept of community walks, and we're happy to do them as soon as, we're over this pandemic and get back out there in the community with you and our small business owners. So thank you so much for that. I am an avid animal lover. And like I said, everyone thought I was going to grow up and be a veterinarian. And to everybody's surprise, I decided to go into business. I've owned my small business in the past, so I know all of the challenges and struggles that small businesses go through. And this is one of my passions. So thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you.
And you don't get off that lucky. You also got to answer the question: if you could have a robot to handle your chores. Ernie said that he wanted a robot to be a husband, which I thought was insane comment to make. But
well. He got my thought because, I'm single and things keep breaking around the house and I'm not very handy. So I would love to have a robot that can fix things in the house and can mow the lawn and do the things that have to get done to continue maintaining everything in operations, right?
Well, actually, you know what? I think that would be mine too, actually, now that I think about it. We had started off with a question about this new phase of 2020 PPP versus 2021, and we'll get a little bit more into some of the very specific questions. But I'm curious, what are the biggest differences that you're seeing between they're not tranches, but those two periods?
Well, I think that some of them have already been mentioned. So there's that caveat that now if you want to apply for PPP round 2, you do have to show your lender a 25% reduction in any of the quarters from 2020 compared to 2019. So that's something that is different. Another thing is that now PPP round 2 is for employers that have 300 employees or less. One thing that we did that ended actually on March 8th, if I'm not mistaken, is we provided 2 weeks of opportunities for small businesses with 20 employees or less to get to the front of the line and apply with their lenders. That was February 24th through March 8th. And now that time period is over, they can still continue to apply until the end of this year, but that is something that we did that's different. There's also 2 other changes that were made. Now individuals that have had difficulties paying their school loans, that's no longer a barrier to apply for PPP. You are able to apply even if you're not up to date with your school loans. That's different from the first round. And another difference, which is a big change, is that now folks that are permanent legal residents that have an ITIN number instead of a social security number, they can also apply. So that was also a very big change that we made for PPP round 2.
I'm curious because the issues I guess that was your cat. Being an animal lover, yeah.
I heard it.
Sorry about that. I have cats, dogs, birds, you name it, I have it.
Yeah, I think you accidentally stepped on your cat's. And I'm going to ask Ernie and Alu their issues too. What were the biggest, I guess, issues that you felt needed to be corrected at the SBA level? And then I'm going to ask the same question to Ernie and Alu about the things that they saw that were sort of the hot spots, the stuff that were difficult to overcome.
I think back to what Ernie said at the beginning, the first round felt a bit like we were reacting and trying to catch up as to what documents were the required documents. What 1099s are allowed or not allowed, an ITIN or somebody without it. And the second round, the SBA put up all the guidelines, black and white, how to calculate maximum amounts, what documents are required, what documents people need to submit for the reduction. It helped lenders a lot because now we had, since day one, even before the program opened, we had clear guidelines from the SBA that we can, put in our platforms and assist our customers to not waste any time as to what documents they need to gather.
Ernie, you want to address that as well too?
Yeah, I think something else that's important to note is ultimately when the program was initiated, the Treasury said, hey, you can get this loan, but you can't deduct the expenses. So then everybody was like, okay, well, that doesn't help. So, for federal tax purposes, now you can receive the loan, you can deduct the expenses. So whether you paid payroll, mortgage, interest, utilities, things like that, you can take the deduction, right? But the problem is that the states are not all on board. So you need to be able to understand, if you have, if you have nexus in a state, or if you're doing business in a state, or if you're, if you're stationed in a state and you're going to have to file an income tax return there, if you've received any sort of PPP funding, you need to make sure that, hey, listen, is this income or can I deduct the expenses? And Florida's one of those states that it's not on board with allowing you to, the loan is income, you can deduct the expenses. That creates a timing difference, because you can receive a loan for $150,000, but you may not be able to utilize all of that funding immediately. So it makes sense to have a very strict policy as to what you're going to do with the funds before you receive them, so you can kind of wash out the income and the expense. Another specific state is California. The loan is not income, but you can only deduct $150,000 of expenses, which creates a problem ultimately.
But you made a statement that you know what you're going to spend the money on. You just can't say, I'm going to use it for employee salaries.
Well, right, but it needs to be spent in within the covered period.
Right. So I guess the question is, do we have enough expenses in these areas to be able to use that to satisfy these expenses?
That's accurate, correct.
Yeah. Okay. I know that part of this new program is they've expanded it for independent contractors. And I'm not nearly a tax geek like you are, but I am a little bit of I have a master's of law and taxation. I'm a little bit of a tax and accounting geek. And maybe you can elaborate on the new rules that have been implemented with respect to independent contractors.
Sure. So ultimately, when the first round came out, they said if you're a Schedule C filer, you really don't have access to these funds, and that's a lot of people, right? Maybe we don't deal with those people on a daily basis, but there is a substantial amount of individuals that have their self-employed businesses. So now they give you the option to say, hey, listen, we're going to calculate the loan amount based on gross revenue versus net profit. So if you think about it, easy math. If your net profit is zero, you're not eligible for a PPP loan. But if your gross revenue is $150,000, you can bring it down to 100K, because the logic follows. For every employee, if you have employees, you can only take up to 100,000 in actual wages. So it's the same concept for gross revenue, but now you have the opportunity to utilize gross revenue versus saying, wow, this year was a wash, I'm at a loss, and I can't take a loan out, when in reality you do need the funding.
Yeah.
Okay. And Victoria, back to you in terms of the biggest issues or obstacles that you faced before, and I imagine for you, I imagine remedying them is probably most important for you, obviously, since everything went through the SBA offices.
Absolutely. I think first round, it caught everyone by surprise. And it's wonderful that you have some lenders on the panel, because they see it from their perspective and we see it from ours, right? And we were just trying to catch up. And if I remember correctly, they say in 14 days, we processed 14 years worth of loans. So that just kind of shows you how much, came our way from one day to the next. So, looking back, I think round two is going a lot smoother. As Ana Lu mentioned, all the guidance was provided ahead of time. Round one, we were building the airplane while we were flying. And we kept having many interim final rules and many guidelines and course corrections to make sure that we help as many small business owners as possible, to make sure we provide our lenders with the guidance as quickly as it was getting approved and brought. So we worked very closely with the Department of Treasury, as you all know, to try to get things out there as soon as possible. But I think in round two, and it sounds like everyone here agrees, it's been a lot better, a lot smoother. Guidance was provided ahead of time. So I think everybody is on the same page as much as that. But yes, it did catch the nation by surprise, to be quite honest, and all small businesses by surprise, and it, it's the same, the federal government by surprise. But we did the best we can. We turned everything around. Our lenders, oh my goodness, thank you so much, because if it wasn't for you guys, it would have been so much more difficult to get the money out. And I know that everybody worked round the clock. I was on the phone with lenders at midnight, at 1:30 in the morning, trying to get things, done for our small businesses. So thank you all. We're forever grateful for all of the teamwork that was exhibited during those times and now. So thank you.
I mean, I remember, during that period of time, the term PPP hell from all the bankers, right? Because the amount of work that had to be compressed into a short period of time. And I mean, are you adding people during this period of time, or did
No, we work with the people we have, and we couldn't have processed as many loans as we did without an amazing teamwork and support from the executives. We had everybody who had a lot. It felt like I've been through Katrina because I lived in New Orleans when it happened, and it felt like a hurricane, like a natural disaster. And everybody was eager to volunteer and go out and help. And everybody who had a laptop at the bank, from executives to tellers to everybody, was out during Easter. I think it's almost a year since that first round started, and everybody worked through Easter, like you said, Vicky, through weekends. And we didn't add anybody. We did all the work with the people we had, who put everything aside to just help customers survive those businesses during these crazy times.
Something I would like to mention, Roland. I mean, it just came to me. This is a wonderful example how public and private partnerships can really, really work together to help the community. So I think this is a wonderful example of, federal government working along with our, private owned lenders to really provide these services to our community members. And if you think about it, we've been able to help our South Florida community stay strong during this time frame. So it's not just helping one business owner or two business owner, it trickles down to the entire economy. So again, thank you so much. It's a great testament to everybody's teamwork, and we all came together to help our community. So thank you for that.
And I mean, Ernie, as far as the people at BDO, I mean, did how much more work than the normal did it cause during that period of time?
So, ultimately, this whole period happened. It was still Morrison Brown last year. When we made the merger early January, at BDO, they have an extensive team of, professionals that deal just with PPP. So, if anybody on the call has any sort of question or concern, or, they need help filling out an application, if you can't get a hold of your lender, we're more than willing to assist. But I guess to answer your question, BDO has, hundreds and thousands of employees, literally, these people that just do this on a daily basis. So every time something comes out, it's being analyzed. Now, I think the real work is going to be done in a couple of months, because everything is being extended due to other things in the tax law that are being changed. So we're going to see, and we're seeing now, but kind of on a minutia level, the real ramifications of, did you get your loan? Did you get it forgiven? Is it not forgiven? I think one thing that's important to note is that if during the first, the initial period, the SBA was giving out these EIDL grants, right, in advance of the PPP loan, just to kind of keep you at bay. Now, in the new rule, they say, hey, listen, the PPP loan is not going to be reduced. Your forgiveness is not going to be reduced by that EIDL grant. And I've already seen clients email me, hey, they didn't forgive the full loan. Why? This and that. And, now we have an answer, but it causes, I guess, it causes concern for the client. Ultimately, it's been resolved now. So it's like that. It's on a daily basis, but we're going to see the long and short of this come, August, September, October, when we're filing tax returns and we're dealing with, clients on a more rigorous basis.
Victoria, I don't know if you want, I call it EIDL. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the EIDL grants and take just a few minutes to talk about the different SBA programs. Because I mean, like I said, PPP ends this month, but I don't know that they're all tied into this 3/31 deadline. So maybe you can.
Right.
And I would also love to get the feedback from Ana Lu and Ernie if they're doing a lot of work with these programs as well. Please go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Roland, for that. Yes, the PPP program ends at the end of this March. I haven't heard of there being any extensions, so stay tuned. As of today, it will end on March 31st of this year. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other programs that folks can utilize. So we do have the EIDL loan, which is the acronyms for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This is our traditional disaster loan program we have for any disaster across the nation. Here in South Florida, it's typically hurricanes, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a loan that has to be paid back. It's at 3.75% interest rate fixed for for-profit organizations, 2.75 interest rate for those that are non-for-profit, and it's a fixed loan. And you can have up to 30 years to make that payment back. You can utilize it for business operations, for payroll, things of that nature. So you can actually technically apply for EIDL and apply for PPP. So PPP will be forgiven. That's your short-term, loan. And EIDL can hold you out until, you're done paying it back. You can utilize that funding. So you can absolutely apply for both. To apply for EIDL, you go through our website, sba.gov/disaster. And there's a link there that you can go ahead and apply. It's a very simple application, but it is a traditional loan. The EIDL grant that Ernie was speaking of, in this round, you do not have to apply. SBA is combing through their database, and they're going to be sending emails or letters to those small businesses that are in the low to moderate income areas, and they are taking a look. What did they get last round for the EIDL grant? Let's say they got $1,000 for the grant. Well, remember, you can get up to $10,000 of grant money. So in this round, we're emailing those companies that did not get up to $10,000, and we're providing them the difference. So if you got $1,000, now you're going to be getting an email saying you're eligible now for $9,000. So you don't have to reapply. Just be on the lookout in your email and in your mailbox. Check your spam folders and your junk mail, because sometimes our emails get stuck in there. So that's something that is a grant, and you do not have to pay that back. Now, we recently, with Congress, with the Economic Recovery Act, they also passed a program called the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, SVO. So this is also a grant that does not have to be paid back. And this grant is typically for organizations that had to completely shutter down. Think of it of organization as that have large public gatherings that they couldn't operate. So it would be your promoters, your musicians, your art galleries, your zoos, your aquariums. These individual entities can apply for the SVO grant. The application is not up yet. We're not accepting grants right now, but it is coming soon. So to get information on that or any of our programs, you would go to sba.gov/coronavirus. Coronavirus relief. sba.gov/coronavirus relief. And you scroll down and you'll have a link to all of our programs with additional information.
Anlu and Ernie, do you have experience with these other programs as well?
With these programs?
With the other. By the way, Victoria, I apologize. Is there any other programs you want to mention before I go to them?
Sure. Well, one thing that I and thank you, Roland, for the opportunity. I always want to tell folks, we're not here just during times of disaster. SBA is here 365 days of the year. Our services are no cost to our small business owners. So when these disaster programs are gone and they're closed, I don't want you to think that we're not here to help you. We still have other loan programs. If you need money to start a business or grow your business, we have other programs for you. We also have other services to help you grow your business, like our federal contracting service. It's a program that allows you to sell your products or your services to the federal government for up to 9 years. And you do that through bidding on contracts for federal government, and that will help you grow your business tremendously. One federal contract can get you up to $4 million. So if you're interested in that, contact us and we will help you with all of the different programs we have. We also have one-on-one business consulting coaching. So if you have any challenges, if you need help with your financials or your recruitment or your strategy, give us a call through our resource partners. We have one-on-one business consultants that can work with you at no cost. We also have, through our resource partners, webinars and training programs that are either at no cost or at low cost through our resource partners, which is the small business development centers. We have women business centers. We have our SCORE chapters, and we also have a veterans business centers that they can all, we're here every day of the year to assist our small businesses. What I'll do, Roland, I'll put some of these links on the chat so folks can pick them up if they like. But we are, feel free to give us a call for any questions that you may have for your business. We're here to support you.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Like I said, one of the things that I noted is I went on the website. We had clients also requesting PPP money, and the number of programs that the SBA actually offered was actually surprised me, and so it was a good learning experience for me. Ernie or Annalu, do you guys also assist with these other programs as well?
So actually here at Ocean Bank, we want to continue to build on this SBA momentum because I feel like everybody, that maybe before was afraid of dealing with the SBA or wasn't sure, if it was possible or complicated. We want to build on this momentum. And here at Ocean Bank, we're opening up the 7(a) program for the SBA, which are loans that the SBA guarantees for businesses that perhaps do not qualify for a conventional loan for whatever reason, it's a startup of a new business, or the credit score is not exactly where it needs to be, or, it's an additional opportunity for business owners that cannot get a regular loan at any other bank. So we're definitely working to build up our 7(a) program here at Ocean Bank. And we continue to have another loan that they have for owner-occupied property that's called the 504 loan. So when Vicky puts that link in there are a few of those programs that are through lenders, and Ocean Bank is definitely continuing committed to grow that program.
No, and to me, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because a lot of these programs are for small and medium-sized businesses, so the bank can grow with them, right? And so, yeah, we all want, the client or customer who's, got $1 billion in sales. How many of those are there? But in the meantime, you can start establishing a relationship with, I said, maybe younger businesses, businesses that aren't as mature, and then you grow with them. So they'll remember you. Annalu was always with me as I started this program. She was helping me identifying and finding SBA loans, and thank God for that, right? Because they're small businesses. They're ups and downs.
Absolutely.
Ernie, maybe you can.
To add to what Victoria said, the Shuttered grant came across my desk last week for the first time. So haven't had a time, to actually dig deep into that, but it's something that we're researching and we're going to offer it. And I think to add, again, I think that this second round of PPP is all about, ultimately getting to that really, really, really small business. And in Miami-Dade County, there's a lot of those businesses that need help. Ultimately, you see sometimes that these clients don't even have a QuickBooks set up, right? So much less, they can't even fill out they can't, like Annalu was saying earlier, they can't even fill out anything electronically because they don't know. It's not that they don't know, it's just that they don't have the capabilities. So I think it's very important for us as professionals to ultimately say, these are the pathways that we can take, and there is funding. And I think Victoria, made a good point in saying that the SBA doesn't die on March 31st. It's something that needs to be taken into consideration. And I think it opened, at least it opened my eyes, right? Working with clients big and small, ultimately that are, sometimes they can't get a loan, or sometimes they can't get a conventional loan, but it's other opportunities to fund and produce capital for the client so they can grow their opportunities and grow their businesses.
And I'm kind of curious. This is maybe not related to your business per se, but I'm curious as your thoughts on how much of an impact the original PPP made on the business in South Florida. And like I said, I think it's hard to assess that, obviously, because you're asking to prove something, where we would have been without that money, and then where we are now. And although South Florida was, there's just no other ways around it. In terms of restaurants, and obviously we have the cruise line industry that got crushed, right? So many important venues, like you said, that the businesses was hosting people crushed. And so I'm curious, just from a your own personal perspective, the kind of impact that these programs made in South Florida.
I think for us, we did some research and just went back to our data, and we estimate that at least we assisted with the loans we did for the round one in 2020, around 30,000 employees that were able to continue to get, their paycheck in the first round. So
that's a lot.
Yeah. Ernie, you have any thoughts on that?
No, I don't have statistical data. We're not tracking it. I'm not tracking it like the bank is, but I think from firsthand experience, you have clients that are doing, $6 million in revenue, and they have, $1 million in change in payroll, and, they called frantically, what's going to happen? I have to lay off my whole workforce? And the answer is, well, I don't know, right? The bank is going to come back and say, well, originally when the PPP came out the first time, there was a certain amount of clients that didn't get that funding. And it was this whole thing. And, we were the bad guys. Like, listen, it's not us ultimately, right? But how do you tell somebody that they have to go home when your payroll is $1 million and change, right? You know, how are you not being able to generate enough revenue to even pay, you know, just to keep the lights on? So I think it made a huge impact in this community. It's something that you can see on a daily basis. The restaurants, you know, the artists, the theater industry, the hotel industry, the Miami Beach. So I think it made, and I think going out now to a restaurant, you think you're seeing, you know, firsthand impact of, you know, where we're going, the trajectory. But people are not as frantic anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And, you know, so is it fair to say, Victoria, that the SBA is the MVP of the pandemic in South Florida?
Well, SBA, lenders, our business partners like you guys, we all came together to make this happen. I do have some data to share. In round one, the state of Florida, we were able to obtain $32 billion for our small businesses. We came second in the nation, only behind California. So that kind of gives you an idea of the support that this program has provided our small businesses. Round two, as of May 8th, we're also second in the running behind California. California is our big competitor, but we're right there, you know, close by. And this, again, it shows all of the dedication of all of our community stakeholders, because if you think about it, if it wasn't for our lenders, if it wasn't for our business chambers, if it wasn't for the media allowing us to go, you know, I know Lily, you went on Univision recently, you know, if it wasn't for everybody getting together to get this information out and help our small business communities, we wouldn't have been #2 in the nation. And, you know, Florida is a tiny state compared to California. So I'm very proud of all of us. And I'm very proud to our small business owners that they went out and they got it done. So congratulations to everyone.
You know, one question that I had that was sort of, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'd rather get the right response is, this PPP money is for new loans, in addition to people who've already got loans in the first tranche, or in the first go ahead, right? Or is it only for old PPP customers?
So round two, it's for either or, right? So if you did not get a chance to apply on round one, you can go ahead and apply. You know, that's not a problem. But if you did apply round one, you have to have exhausted all of your funds, show proof that, you know, you have a minimum of 25% reduction in revenue in 1 quarter of 2020 compared to 2019. And you have to have less than 300 employees. If you follow, and you, of course, you have to be in existence as of February 15, 2020. If you check all those boxes off, then you can go ahead and apply for another loan of PPP in round two.
Okay. You know, so for people listening, and I think you touched on this a little bit, but for people now that are new PPP borrowers, what do you tell them to do to get ready before they go meet with you, Ernie, or with you, Ana Lu? What is the best thing to do in order to expedite that process? And obviously, Victoria, I'd like to know what you would recommend them as well too. So like I said, so that from the moment they apply, and I also like to know exactly how long you think that process normally takes, right? So if I apply, you know, March 1st, if I did apply, more or less, how long would it until that money's in my account? Any of three of you, please.
Sure.
Yeah,
No,
I think for us,
go
go ahead, Ernie. No, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know, I think I was, you know, in preparation of this, I was reading through the new, you know, the IFR, and one of the bullet points says, you know, whatever, you're going to file as a Schedule C filer, you know, please provide Schedule C or financial statements or bank statements, whatever it is. But one of the things that says, if gross revenue is not stated, annotated, highlighted, make it known, make it easy for everybody that's going to read the data. People don't know everything, right? So you can't assume, you know, you have to make it in layman's terms. I think that's something that needs to be distributed to clients, distributed to, you know, the applicants. Make it easy, right? If you're going to be applying on payroll, call your payroll company, call your ADPs, call your Paychecks, call your providers and say, hey, listen, I need my summary, I need my 941s, I need my, you know, whatever it is, my RT6s, my state taxes, and then, you know, take a highlighter. It's not that hard, right? Take a highlighter and say, hey, listen, this is wages. These are gross wages. Or print out your bank statements and say, these are my deposits. Make it easy, right? Put it in an Excel and say, these are my deposits for the last 12 months. I'm going to take the third quarter of 2020 and I'm going to compare it to 2019 third quarter. And that's where my 25% reduction was, right? I think clients get frantic really quickly, and they don't need to, right? There's a lot of resources that they can utilize to make it an easy process.
And I think for us, we develop a platform online where we help the customer. We took that IFR that so many pages, and sometimes the language is not as straightforward. Mm-hmm. And it's straightforward for us, but not, when you want to disseminate it to thousands of people. And in our platform, we try to digest that IFR and put it in words that were easy to, digest for our customers. And we try to help them along the way as to, if you are an independent contractor, you will need to look at line 7 of your Schedule C. You need to provide this document. And they can always do even like a copy paste from there and send to the payroll provider, or they can send to their accountant. And here at Ocean Bank, every customer has an officer. So they'll call the officer and, they'll get an answer from us within 24 hours. Even one thing that we do see a difference with the first round, that a lot of our customers, ask, how long is it going to take? I think you mentioned that, Roland. In the first round, and the SBA has said this in all their calls, and Vicky can talk more about it. Basically, we got automatic approvals from the SBA when we submitted these loans. They brought down all of their controls. And basically, the priority was money needs to go out the door to the people that need it, and the need it's now. In the second round, it's very difficult to tell customers, how long it's going to take, because, we like to establish like clear expectations for everybody. It's not an immediate response. We get an approval from the SBA. The SBA has put up their controls now. And, they're asking questions now. They're requiring additional information for certain lenders. So you submit the application to the SBA, and their turnaround is very quickly. It's 24 hours if there's no other holds or any other issues. But if they have further questions, that might not end up being issues, but they have the controls up now. So it's very difficult to answer that question. I would like to say, 48 hours. Not for everybody. We do our best to review it internally very quickly. And send it over to the SBA, but on their side, they're asking questions. So in terms of setting expectations, we don't know how long it will take. Some customers is 24 hours, 48 hours. Other customers, we're still waiting for an approval, and it's been a month.
Wow, okay, so it's a big range. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Victoria, you have any advice for people before they go visit their accountant or their bankers?
Well, I think, Roland, one of the things that is a great eye-opener and, lessons for all of us is that it's the importance of knowing your numbers. If you're a small business owner, you have to know your financials. You have to know what is a 941, a quarterly report, and so on and so forth, because in times of disaster, and remember, we're in South Florida, hurricanes are about to come, and when they do come and it hits us, we have our economic injury disaster loan available. The folks that know their financials and they know their numbers and they have everything ready, they know where to print it, how to do it, they're the ones who are going to apply the quickest. They're the ones who are going to get the funding the quickest. So, to go back to what Anelu says, it's really hard to say it's going to be X number of days or months to get your funding, because it really depends on how complete that package is. And that's really dependent on the business owner, right? So I think this was, this pandemic has showed us the importance of really knowing your numbers. Small business owners, they're great at what they do. If I'm a chef and I have a restaurant, I'm great at cooking, but I may not be great with my financials. You have an accountant for that or a bookkeeper for that. So, but it's really important for small business owners to really know their numbers. So if the lender or the bank asks them a question, they can let them know, what's their loss in revenue, what's their loss in profit, so on and so forth. So that's my recommendation. Just always keep an eye on your numbers, make sure your financials are together. So when you do go to a bank to apply for any loan, really, you're going to need that information. So that would be my recommendation.
I mean, I got to tell you, even though that seems something that everybody should be doing. Even like I said, even as a lawyer, you spend so much time getting the work out, trying to get more work, that, looking what your revenues are and how much money's out in the street becomes very difficult, because it's not going to, if you're not getting work out, if you don't have clients and you're not getting work out, the revenues are, that's not going to be a good look, right? And so I think that's actually, that's a really good comment. Like I said, I think a lot of small businesses they've had to make a major focus, a pivot to that as a major focus. I do want to talk a little bit about the forgiveness, and so because the opportunity to forgive also ends March 31st. Is that fair or no? I'm wondering if there's a
for forgiveness, right now the forgiveness that's open is for the PPP loans that were funded and were given last year.
Right.
And the deadline for the forgiveness is actually 10 months after the end of the cover period, which, these loans were given anywhere from April of 2020 to August, I think that first round opened. So 10 months after, the 24-week period that a company it can use, it's all the way here in 2021. So people have time to do forgiveness of that first PPP loan. So that doesn't end March 31st. What ends March 31st is the second draw PPP loan.
Thank you for that point. So it's 10 months from when you received the money.
No, 10 months from the end of the cover period. So go ahead, Vicky. I'll let you.
No, you're doing great. I was so proud of you, doing great. We're speaking the same language. So remind folks, right, because we've been working on this forever. So for us, we know what cover period is, but for folks out there, they may not be used to it. So the covered period is the time that you're using the funding. Remember, you have 8 to 24 weeks. So the forgiveness clock starts to tick at the end of when your funding runs out. So if it takes 24 weeks for your funding run out, if it takes 15 weeks, whenever you're done with your funding and you used up all your funds, that's when the forgiveness clock starts to tick. So from that moment moving forward, you have up to 10 months to apply for forgiveness. But Roland, what I tell folks and what I recommend is for them to apply as soon as possible. Why? Because while that clock is ticking, interest rate is accruing. And heaven forbid, if you don't get 100% of your loan forgiven, there might be a percentage you do have to pay back, right? And that percentage is accruing interest rate. So that percentage would be only if you use the money for something that is not a forgivable category. And if you do have to pay it back, I don't want you to worry. It's at 1% interest rate and you have up to 5 years to pay it back. But just to have peace of mind for my small business community out there, I say just go ahead, reach out to your lender once your funding is done and apply for that forgiveness. So you know it's 100% forgiven and you can rest easy at night and know that everything is well and it's done. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, and we have started with the forgiveness of our first round. We're at 80%. We actually reach out to every single one of our customers and we're pushing them even now for round 2. And then people forget. I mean, it's easier. I tell customers it's like doing an expense report. You received an advance and now you have to say how you spend it. And it's easier to do when you actually just came back from that business trip or when you just make the expenses. If you wait 10 months, and you don't have your books and records in order, or it's more difficult. So we're on top of our customers and we're at 80% almost already for 100% forgiveness of our loans.
So 80% of your customers have already requested forgiveness.
And
wow.
Yes, and we have received actually already forgiveness from the government.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Victoria, I have a question for you from one of our listeners. We had an error codes, strange glitches for our second round PPP. Once the supporting documents are sent to SBA to clear it up, how long will it take for approval? Why are these glitches happening? That's kind of a tough one. I don't expect you to answer that one. For example, we had to provide our TIN again when on the first PPP it was correct. And also on the second PPP application, how long does our lender have to clear up error codes?
Again, these error codes, it all depends on what those codes are, right? And what additional documentation SBA is requesting from the lenders, and then the lenders will request it from the small business. So in that particular case, I wouldn't be able to answer specifics. They can, of course, contact my office and we can look into it. Anelu, I don't know if you have, a different perspective from the lender side. I know you guys also work with error codes, but I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yes, what we try to do is as soon as we monitor this daily, and as some new codes start showing up, we reach out to the officer to request additional support from the customer, and we try to clear the lender. The SBA has allowed, and I think that worked out great, has delegated, allowed the lenders to certify some of these hold. So we don't have to wait for them to respond. We can just certify, and after we certify, some of the holds will clear within 24 hours. But like Vicky said, there's no one answer that will fit all of the different holds. Some holds the lender cannot certify. They need to go into further research. But here in the lender side, we try to send all the documents after we receive them within 24, 48 hours. And then the SBA, some holds they clear very quickly, but some others they don't. And I think it's just communicating with your lender. Usually I like to send to our customers a screenshot from the SBA side that says it's under review. And one thing I think it's important to mention, Vicky and Roland, it's when your application it's on the SBA side, and Vicky, correct me if I'm wrong, I like to tell customers for them to have peace of mind is funds are kind of put aside for that particular application while the SBA clears the hold. So it's not like people, because I think in the first round, obviously there was that anxiety that the funds are going to run out, and people still have, that anxiety that, oh my God, and there's news everywhere that said funds are close to getting off. And if the application is on the SBA side and it's already been submitted and it's under review, they have put aside those funds for your PPP loan. If after the review, they find out, everything is clear, here are your funds. If at the end of the review, you have not been eligible, then they will release them, but they have been funds assigned to your application.
I mean, that's great to know, because I would imagine that causes a great deal of anxiety, right? Up until I have a full application that's accepted, the money could in fact run out, and so like I said, I think it's very comforting to a lot of people. In a very positive note, well, I said everything's been very positive. I'm just curious because as a lawyer, we know that Miami over the past 15 or 20 years was the mortgage fraud. We were number one in mortgage fraud. We were number one in healthcare fraud. And I'm just curious. You are in fact seeing some government persecution or other, they're going against some of the borrowers. And I'm just curious if you've seen it in South Florida. Like I said, I'm a little bit our track record is not necessarily that great. If you have any comments on that. I don't.
Well, I do want to say that, we do have our Office of Inspector General, and whenever there are any fraud cases that come, they are aware of that, and they do start investigating that. So I know it's active, and they've been doing it since these programs have started. We want to make sure to keep the integrity of the program, intact. And of course, the spirit of the law needs to be followed. The reason these programs were out there is to really truly help our small business community. So we are looking at any cases of fraudulent behavior, and that goes through our Office of Inspector General. And so we are active looking into that, of those cases that come up.
I want to thank you, Victoria, because one of the things that you put on our chat is you can obviously go to your website, and in addition to that, there's also a YouTube page. But what I think is most important is some people even our members are more comfortable in Spanish, frankly, and so the fact that you can go to a Spanish version of the website, and also on the web, all your webinars are in Spanish as well too. So I think for people, this is South Florida, right? And so that's not going to be surprising that a significant part of our constituents of our population does in fact feel more comfortable in Spanish.
Yeah. And Roland, we also have folks in the office that speak Spanish, and so they can always email us in Spanish, call us in Spanish. If we're on a webinar, we have webinars in English and Spanish. So we always are very cognizant of that. We want folks to feel comfortable when it comes to talking about this, especially with financials. Things can get lost in translations if English is not your primary language. So we're always very cognizant of that. So if you feel like you want to speak Spanish, we have folks that can help you.
We're getting close to the end, and I'm just gonna give you a couple of minutes to say anything or wrap up. On behalf of the chamber, I can't thank you enough. I always like to say more information is always better than less, obviously. And you've given us a tremendous amount of information for our listeners, for our members, and that'll trigger them to go to the website, to contact their CPA, to contact their banker. So thank you very much. And Lou, you want to have a few parting words?
No, I just want to reiterate that the program is open for everybody now, starting Tuesday when they released all employees, number of employees hold. Everybody, regardless of the number of employees you have, up to 300, you can apply all the way to March 31st. And there's still an opportunity for even a second PPP or even the first if you did not, apply last year.
Thank you very much. Ernie?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I just wanted to let everybody know if anybody has any questions, I'll make sure that my contact information gets sent out to the attendees. In addition to that, it's important to note that there's also an avenue with the employer retention credit, which is something with the IRS that you can utilize. You can now, I won't say double dip, but as long as you didn't use the PPP funds to pay that same employee, if you've retained an employee during 2020 or 2021, there is a refundable credit that is available. So we can discuss that offline if anybody is interested.
Thank you very much. That's exactly the reason why we have you on here, to tell us about that. Thank you very much, Ernie. And so Victoria, I'll give you the penultimate word. I'll let Lily close up, but once again, thank you very much.
Absolutely. I just wanted to remind folks, all of our links are in the chat. If you have any questions, you can go to sba.gov. If you want to go to our local page in South Florida, it's sba.gov/South Florida. All of our contact information is there, and we're here to help you, not just now, but throughout the year. You can count on us. We will always be by your side. So thank you again. And thank you, Roland and Lily, for the opportunity to be here with you today. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. And before we close up, Analu, thank you. Ernie, thank you so much again. Vicky, what can I say? We're going to do the community walk. That's so good that I found that old VHS. We did community walks with the Small Business Administration, walking the neighborhoods, knocking on the businesses' doors to see what their needs were. Our chamber, together with the SBA, since 2003. Thank you so much. And Roland, of course, our chairman of the board, thank you for your time. I know we have Felipe Sultan, we have Jose Perez de Corcho, who's our chair-elect, and Felipe, I don't know if he's able to come in or not. I don't know if he's hearing us, but anyway, big shout out to him always for his support. And Jose, also thank you as well. We have a few announcements. March 24th, we have a webinar, Brand Your Business with the SFLHCC. There's a lot of opportunities to brand your business with us. March 25th, our Women of Leadership Awards reception. Live event, guys. We're the only chamber that's really doing live events at Garcia Seafood Grill. April 14th, we have a webinar that actually I'll be moderating. So then Roland will be introducing me, and I'm going to be working. Roland will be doing the work. It's a college savings with Florida Prepaid. I'm their, basically like their champion. So I have to do the moderating. So go present me. But it's interesting because it's Florida Prepaid, and that you lock in your rate now if you have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephew, whatever. This is the time until April the 30th. And then also we have on April 30th our Hispanic Leadership Awards. And May 6th, our food distribution for Mother's Day. We always support Centro Mater with toys, with a lot of 900 toys, and now we're doing food distribution for them. So anybody wants to hop on board and be a sponsor, help us. We're collecting canned goods, we're buying stuff for them, and we're going to do a drive-through and support these families, and their median income is $25,000 a year or less. So it's important. We depend on you, on all of our members. And having said that, I think we are ready to close. I think I acknowledge everybody that is in our board that was with us. I know Dallas is here with us, and Mari Casamayor. So anyway, everybody, thank you. If I missed someone, I love you. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you soon.